Hello, welcome to Permission to Play. I'm Amy Herzog, founder of Spark Joy with Amy, and this is Permission to Play, where we are bringing a movement of play to the forefront of kids' lives every day. Today, I'm going to be joined by a very special mom. Her name is Alyssa Brade, and Alyssa has been dedicated to maternal wellness. She's an award-winning author and entrepreneur. As a mother of 2 toddler boys, she understands the pressure of mom guilt, burnout, and the challenges of balancing family and career. Through her experiences and research, Alyssa wrote an Amazon best-selling book, Mommy Needs a Minute. I just love that title so much. From burnout to empowerment. Over the past 2 years, Alyssa has connected with and impacted hundreds of women worldwide, offering practical strategies for self-care, mental health, management, and balancing family with personal goals. She is now the co-founder of High Five Thrive, a nonprofit dedicated to empowering parents. And I'm going to bring her on with us here now. If you are a mom who's ever felt a little burned out, this is for you. That's all of us, right? If you are a widowed mom, I see you. I have that lived experience. Stay tuned today because we want to help address the mounting pressures on moms and how to support ourselves. Anyone who's a mom who's felt any sort of burnout, felt guilty for feeling burnout, who feels pressure, mom guilt, all of that stuff, this is the conversation you're going to want to tune into today. We're going to bring you solidarity and understanding. We're going to bring you support. We're going to bring you some ideas and tools and tips to help overcome that burnout. And you're going to want to check out Alyssa's book, Mommy Needs a Minute, Burnout to Empowerment, to really get like in-depth support for this area. So welcome, Alyssa. I am so grateful to connect with you and have you here for my audience and your audience to just share really important tips for moms to avoid that mom guilt and that burnout and taking a minute. I love that. Mommy needs a minute. I'm sure you've probably said this to your child, like, Mommy needs a minute. Just hold on. Like, I'm trying to go to the bathroom by myself for a minute. Okay.
Definitely. I feel like it's become it was my catchphrase,
Yeah.
my parenting catchphrase.
Yeah. Now you're a parent of 2 toddlers. Is that right? Or how old are they now?
Yes, I have a 4-year-old and a almost 3-year-old.
Oh, wow. They're close in age. I know that presents its own like busy lifestyle, right?
Yes, I feel like in some ways it would have been easier to have twins, but this works really well. They're the best of friends, which is
Oh,
it was unexpected, but it was a good thing
that's
for
so
our
sweet.
family.
Yeah. And nothing's ever easier. It's just grass is always greener somewhere else where someone
It's
else is watering.
it's true. It's true.
So let me ask you this, and then I want to launch into some questions more about you. But what do you think of when you hear the term permission to play? What comes up for you? Who's the permission for, and what does that mean to you?
I love that phrasing. I think oftentimes as adults, we stop giving ourselves permission to enjoy and be present and play because there's so many responsibilities and demands and things pulling on our time that it feels irresponsible to be childlike and to explore the world and to enjoy playing. It feels like a waste of time because we've been taught there's nothing productive or a tangible outcome from playing. It's just something frivolous that you do to pass the time. And as an adult, you don't really have permission to do that anymore, which I think is such a misconception.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate that. I showed a reel this week of a senior living assistance center where they made a life-size I can never think of the term, but like slot machine. Yeah, that's the word, slot machine. So you had three people who worked at the place, and they go, "Boop," and then they would hold up a fruit, and we would see if they all matched or not, like a slot machine. It was so cute, and I was just showing like from birth to death, we all benefit and enjoy play. It just like makes life so like sparking joy, you know? It's so much better when we do play. And yet it's really like taught out of us in a way. I feel like the more I look at like the system of education and how we're trying to like get these standards and I don't know, play is being stripped away more, that it's like we're trying to be these productive people, but losing that creativity and that peace is like, I don't know, is that beneficial? I don't think so. So yeah.
I
um so would you fill us in on your journey to becoming the author of Mommy Needs a Minute, from burnout to empowerment? What was that journey like for you that led you to this book and to this place that you're in now?
Definitely. I feel like many moms experience that place of overwhelm and exhaustion, and it just becomes almost normalized. Like you just expect it with motherhood. Motherhood is hard. Um, and so I entered into motherhood kind of unexpectedly. Found out I was pregnant, not intentionally,
Okay.
right before COVID in 2020. And at the time, I was in the middle of a master's degree program. I was teaching English at a university, and it was not a convenient time to have children. I was never planning on having children. So it really wasn't in my anywhere in my thought or in my future.
Yeah.
And so I ended up getting pregnant, ended up having my firstborn in November. I was still teaching in the middle of my master's degree. I was writing my thesis and conducting research and studies on that. And so I didn't take a maternity leave. I just kept teaching and working. And so that kind of started the trend of feeling burned out and overwhelmed. I didn't have anyone to cover my classes, so I was back teaching. Luckily, it was all online because of COVID.
Oh, right.
But I was teaching within a few hours of having given birth, and
My
it
God.
was, and I ended up doing my dissertation. My husband and I, who were very blessed, we were able to buy a house where we were living in a one-bedroom apartment, and we were like, okay, great, we can get a house. And my husband got a vasectomy, and it ended up, we were like, okay, we're good. We have one kid. We're getting our career and our life back on track.
Yeah.
And then found out I was pregnant a few weeks after we signed the paperwork for our house with our second, and was shocked. So at the time, I was working part time for an after school program because we have a very high needs, low income area, and I was working with that after school program teaching, and I just finished my defense of my thesis and was wrapping up classes. And I launched into being a full time mom and also working part-time for this after school program, being pregnant. I was very sick for my pregnancies,
Mm.
still nursing my firstborn. And I ended up fainting while I was carrying him down our cement stairs. And I dropped him on the cement and I fell on my belly with my new unborn baby at the time. So we ended up just having to rush to the hospital. My little guy had internal hemorrhaging in his brain.
Oh,
They told us he was going to need brain surgery and that he might not live. And so that was extremely
oh
traumatic.
my
And
gosh.
he ended up being helicoptered to a larger hospital, and they were prepping him for potentially having neurosurgery. And they were doing x-rays, and they were like, the bleeding in his brain has stopped. They were like, we don't think he'll need surgery, and now he's a happy, healthy 4-year-old, no complications. It's
Wow.
incredible, the elasticity of the brain.
Oh my
But
gosh.
that was the wake up call, I feel like,
Mm.
of really starting on my own journey
Like,
of what is
yeah,
happening in
yeah,
our world that's
yeah.
driving this deep need for doing it all, having it all, being the super mom, to the point
Mm.
where my body is physically collapsing.
Yeah.
And and the repercussion, the people who paid the price were the people that I love
Mm.
the most, who
Yeah.
were who I'm doing it all and trying to be it all for. So
Yes.
that's kind of
Mm.
that's kind of the place the book was born from. And
Yeah.
that place of looking at how is society, what messages are we getting as women, and as mothers that are shaping these deep-seated beliefs that drive us to push ourselves way past our limits to
Yeah.
unhealthy places,
Yeah.
in this self-prescribed mantra of doing it all.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That was an extreme experience to bring into this. I'm so glad you're both okay. But wow, yeah, that really does. You're like, okay, I am a mom here now, and I need to put that as a priority.
Yes.
Wow, so much going on in there. Now you wrote the book, and then did your nonprofit High Five Thrive, did that come simultaneously or did that follow? Did that come first? Tell us about High Five Thrive.
That that followed actually after. Leah Milan, she's an incredible person, and she has a platform called My Mom's Best Advice that really looks at the advice that people have been given by their mom that shaped their entire lives and their trajectory. And really, the High Five Thrive was born from this place of the power of family and how entire countries, nations, so economic systems are built on a strong foundation of family. When families are strong and the family unit is strong, you can see the domino effect it has on the rest of society. It's incredible. And so we really started to look at how the United States as a first world country is so far behind compared to other first world countries. We're in par with Papua New Guinea. We're the only first world country in the world that does not offer national paid maternity leave at a federal level, which is that right there with like Papua New Guinea, like I said. And it's kind of disheartening to see how undersupported families are, how high the cost of daycare is, how exhausted and burned out parents are, so that they don't even have time to play with their kids. And that's where the High Five Thrive nonprofit really originated from, this place of like, oh, as a whole, we're missing such an integral support for people who are literally building the next and future generations of our society, and there's no support for that.
Yeah. What kind of support does High Five Thrive offer?
So we're
That's a
looking at
tongue
right now,
twister.
it is, it's good for the brain. Um, we're really looking at support on a community level. So right now we're doing workshops for parents. Right now we're doing an empowered motherhood and empowered womanhood series that really tackles topics like guilt, societal expectations, taking time for yourself, ability to empower yourself through recognizing and identifying the support systems that are in place, instead of just complaining or feeling frustrated about the lack of support, finding support in places that you might not have expected, and how we can start to build that community. So right now, a lot of our initiatives are focused on community building, workshops to give parents the tools they need to feel empowered to build those communities outside of just the nuclear family unit, which is such a focus in North America.
Yeah. Do you have some quick tips? So I'm sure that anybody watching this is just like, yes, I am so burned out. I have so much going on. We get, really piled on with so much responsibility that comes from external and internally. Um, and what are some of your quick, like, if you had a high five, what would be some of your quick things to like throw on our hand that we could do that you recommend to women?
One of the things that I say is don't let your kids do anything consistently that makes you not like them. So something that I love to tell parents is if your kid has a behavior or your child is doing something that consistently is very triggering for you, whether or not the behavior itself is necessarily wrong or a bad behavior, if it's triggering for you, then feel empowered to do something about it, because you don't want to have a child who is consistently annoying and bothering you. That increases burnout, and then those feelings of guilt that you shouldn't feel annoyed. It's okay that you feel annoyed. Let's see how you can address it in a healthy way. So that would be a big tip. The second thing is that it's okay to have designated times that are mommy's minutes. So even with my toddlers, I teach them, no, unless it's an emergency, you're dying, something
Mhm.
is desperately wrong, I'm drinking my tea. Whatever you need can wait the 10 minutes while I'm drinking my hot cup of tea. And that's okay.
Mhm.
It's teaching you that I have a boundary and I'm somebody who also deserves respect and time.
Mhm.
It's teaching you to respect and admire time, or respect and understand other people have needs that need to be met outside of your needs.
Yeah.
Um, so that's a big one, that power to just say no and give yourself a little bit of time. I love also working in, which is why I love permission to play. I love working in micro play moments throughout our day, where at regular activities that can feel exhausting and lead to burnout can really be opportunities for a fun chance to be present and really engage with your children. Like cleaning up can be, we have a cleanup song, it ends up being a dance party. Long drives in the car, we tell stories, we do rhymes, we play word games. These fun little things that might feel mundane or can lead to feelings of draining burnout can really be turned into fun opportunities for play and connection, which is always a great way to flip the script. um, and then a big thing is being, I think the biggest battle goes on in our mind. So being kind to yourself and speaking
Mhm.
words of understanding over yourself and grace over yourself. We get frustrated. Raising children is very hard. There are moments where it's extremely frustrating, and that's normal. There's nothing wrong with you for feeling frustrated over your children. Take a minute
Yeah.
to acknowledge that you're frustrated, to breathe, and to take a step back if you need. If it's not a life or death situation, there's time. There's always time. You don't have to feel this pressure to respond instantly. You can take a minute to breathe, recollect yourself, recollect your thoughts, and enter once you're in a better headspace. And there's nothing wrong with that. I tell my kids regularly, okay, mama needs a second to think, or I need a second to breathe. And now sometimes my toddlers will say that back to me, mommy, I just need a minute to breathe. And I'm like, oh, okay, you go, buddy.
Yeah, I love that when we see them modeling what we're saying in a positive strain like that, it's so
Yeah.
like, oh, good. They hear all the things.
Yeah,
It's nice when they hear the good ones too, right?
exactly. I'm doing something right. I
Right.
feel like,
Yeah.
oh, good.
Like, oh, that's working. And then they're using that tool too. So you have a strategy that's helping support yourself and your own mental wellness. And then you're able to give that to your child. And that's really empowering them to speak up and say, I need a minute. I feel overwhelmed, or I need more time to do this. And then that gives them the language to do that in return, which is really important, that we have that mutual respect and that mutual empowerment to speak up for ourselves.
It is. And I think it's beautiful. I always tell parents, like, if you imagine that your child grows up in the world and they mimic the behavior that's been modeled for them. So if you model the mommy martyr,
Mhm.
always putting yourself last, never meeting your own needs, everybody else comes first. And in fact, you should feel guilty if you're not doing it. If everyone else's needs don't come before yours, you're a bad person. If you're modeling that behavior, whether you're expressing that out loud or just modeling it with your actions and the things you say about yourself and to yourself,
Mhm.
they pick up on that. Kids are so intuitive.
Yeah.
And if you don't want your child to treat themselves that way, don't model for them that that's how you treat yourself, because they will pick up on that and they think that that's what is expected of them in adulthood.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to switch gears just a little bit
Yeah.
back to play. I'm so grateful you were able to pick up my A to Z playbook, which is a tool for parents to implement play and introduce language in like written form and oral form. Um, and and then you've started to use this with your kids. I would love to hear what role play has in your life, and if I know, like, one of my parents that attended a play to read workshop with me, she was saying that she's forgiving herself for not really knowing how to play, or not really even wanting to play with her kids before, but now that she's learning how to, um she's learning, well, first of all, she's forgiving herself. She's healing in places where she didn't learn how to play because that wasn't modeled in her family and whatnot. And she's learning more about her kids by allowing them to express themselves through play. So I just love like what's coming through for her. And then so I'm just curious with you with toddlers. I mean, um, play is such an integral part of our little ones. As they get a little older, sometimes it's more like sports or art or instruments or whatever, but like play is so crucial, I think, all the
Yeah.
time. But it's really their job is to play when they're little. And yet it can be hard as a mom. You're like, I got the laundry and the dishes and the bills and the taxing kids around and my own stuff. And so what does play look like for you? And how do you build that into like your wellness?
Well, I think that's an amazing question. And for anyone listening, Amy's A to Z playbook is incredible. It's such a great place to start. It's a free
Thank
resource, and I know that we've been so blessed getting to go through it. I would definitely pick it up if you haven't yet.
you. Thank you.
Um, the as far as your question goes, I think I can really relate to what the mom you shared expressed, that feeling of like, I don't want to play, I'm tired, the last thing I want to do is play, it's work. Some really interesting research shows that even adults, when they play, it releases dopamine and lowers cortisol levels. As a mom, our cortisol levels are on par with lawyers and doctors who have very high stress jobs, because the stress and the constant stimulation of toddlers triggers our cortisol release in that similar manner as if you were working a really high stress job. So we could all use with more dopamine and lower cortisol levels, and play actually does that. And the incredible thing that I have found in my life is the more you play, the more you want to play, and the less of a chore it feels. And play doesn't necessarily mean you have to drop what you're doing to start playing and, oh great, everything else falls to the wayside. There's so many incredible ways that play is a part of everyday life. Play and life and learning are all interconnected. And when they're interconnected in that way, it's powerful for you and it's powerful for your toddlers, and it deepens that connection that you have and the time you spend with them. Um,
Preach.
so what I mean,
Wait, say that again. It deepens your connection. Yes, this is what I preach. It deepens your connection. You're
yes,
speaking child's love language, and you're having joyful interactions, which is just like so good for your relationship
yes,
and
and
like you said,
you're
your own
showing
health.
exactly, and you're showing them that what they want to do and what they find fun is important, and it's something that you can engage into on their level. And the other thing is, my toddlers love learning games, so they love when I create games for them. When I'm having them help me in the kitchen and they're using their kids' knives to chop a banana or something, and we create a game, who can chop the smallest piece, who can chop the biggest piece, or we pretend that we're fighting the bad guys, and we have only a little bit of time before the bomb goes off, and we have to hurry and chop the bananas. And with little boys, everything is a
Yes,
weapon. It's all
true is.
superheroes. um, so yes, it's those small moments of micro play. And then the other thing that I love about play is, not only can it be incorporated into everyday tasks, your tasks don't have to go on hold. I have found when I spend even 5 to 10 minutes of focused play where I am fully present and engaging. And I'm sure you experience this, Amy. Focused play doesn't mean you're distracted, you're half-heartedly pushing the Hot Wheels while you're scrolling through your phone. When you are actively engaged in playing and truly present, it has an energizing effect. A university in California actually showed that parents who spend 5 to 10 minutes of concentrated time, just 5 to 10
Five to ten
minutes, their yep,
minutes.
5 to 10
Yes.
minutes, their energy levels increase. They feel more energized. They feel more empowered. They feel more connected. It's
Mhm.
such a powerful tool that we often overlook as something that's frivolous, but it really should be an integral part of our everyday life, which I feel like I'm preaching to you, who is
Ah.
the expert on all of this. All
Yes,
of
well,
this.
hopefully people listening, we're probably preaching to the choir, anyone listening here, but it's so good to know. And I really appreciate your research and sharing that aspect of it, and that our listeners can then like take that, go deeper, share it with others, and really just feel grounded in this message that it's so important to be playing. And I love that, just like 10 minutes, we're not talking it doesn't have to be huge chunks. And like you said, it can be integrated into everything you're doing. And I laugh because I will sing everything, you know. If we have to like push in our chair, I've got a song for that. If we need to like put our jacket away, I've got a song for that. So even like playing with language, you know, playing with words that are silly, making up silly words, and doing rhyme games, things that you can do on the go that you don't have to have any materials for, and that just keeps your child like creative and curious, and yourself as well. You said that your kids love when you make games for them, and one of the things I've been noticing, well, two of the things, I'm going to write them down because I'm going to forget this one, is that when we give our kids materials, they know how to play. Like they are creating games. And I didn't realize that before so much. I would be like, here, I'm coming to you with the game. This is what we're going to play. And that's great. Like I have a lot to offer, but I also started to go, well, what do you think? You know, and they'll share like, oh, I think we should do this or that. And so I started to tap into that, like, oh, they have ideas for games too. And if I just bring the materials, they will come up with the games. We When we create this opportunity for them to have that input, for them to like share their ideas, and I think we build that lifelong learners, like those innovators and those creative and those problem solvers and all of that, right? And it is natural. Like we don't actually have to teach that. What we have to do is not strip it away from them, and we have to encourage it and allow it to be part of their lives. So moms, all you need to do is put those bowls out and put the plastic spoons out, and like they're going to come up with an idea, you know, while you're working in the kitchen, and some silly game will come out of it, or some activity or whatnot. So um that's one. The other was, and see, I wrote down parent, but see if I can bring it back up. um Nope, I can't. Nope. You're trying to
It'll
know
come
enough.
back to you tonight.
I don't come at 2 in the morning. It always does.
Yeah. Oh, but well,
Yeah.
I love what you say about that. Like they will come up with their own creative games. And actually, as a parent, there's nothing. Well, I shouldn't say nothing, but there's so many rewarding aspects of watching your children be creative and play, and how incredible their minds are when we pause and are present and really connect to what they're doing and what they're saying, and the creative, innovative ways they think. And one of the biggest things I think as parents is encouraging children that play is productive. There's nothing frivolous or wasteful about playing. And the more we instill that message in our children, even the more we instill it in ourselves. I'm not wasting time. There's no better way I can spend my time than doing this right now and being present.
Ooh, I want to like pause and repeat, because mommy needs a minute is really like, there is nothing better I can be doing with my time. If we can reframe, you know, the time with our kids, and like you had this extreme experience. Your child was injured in a really impactful way that was probably quite scary and uncertain, and there wouldn't be anything you'd rather do than be with your child, right? So like we all kind of have to keep that perspective. We're all on loan here.
Mm-hmm.
So doing things and spending time and having intentional one-on-one, like connected, uh tech-free time with our child and play, even if it's 10 minutes, um, it is, there's nothing better that I could be doing with my time. There's nothing better that I could be doing to teach my child so many things, right? On so many levels, to teach them I'm interested, to teach them they matter, to teach them their creativity is encouraged, to teach them we're connected and I'm listening. There's so much that's taught through this. And so really that mind shift, I feel like the biggest struggle that we have is from expectations. Like if I have the expectation that I'm going to get these 5 things done today and my child is blocking me from those, then they're an obstacle and I'm just like butting up against them, right? But if I'm like, it'd be great to get those done, but my priority is going to be, you know, connecting with my child, there's nothing better. And I can speak from experience. I won't go too dark into this, but my son and I had a horrible disconnect when he was in high school in his teen years. We lost his dad when he was 12. It was just me. Uh, and we butted heads a lot. And to the point where he ran away and then I kicked him out. And when I kicked him out, it was the worst. It was just like the worst situation came up. I went to my parent coach and she asked me, like, well, what do you want? Do you want to be right or do you want connection? And at that point, I mean, when you're saying, like, don't let your child's behavior be something that bothers you, like my child bothered me so much, I just didn't like him. I'm just going to be honest. I didn't like him for a hot minute. And I was like, connection, huh? Okay, I think when he was born, that was the goal. Yeah, that's that was it.
That was the goal.
I needed, like, how do I get back to that? So I pivoted to fully embrace my child with the capacity for connection. And if I didn't have capacity, I didn't approach him. Now he's older
Mm-hmm.
at that time, right? But he was like 17. So if I didn't have capacity, I didn't approach. But when I approached him, it was only with capacity for connection. And that changed everything. So I bring this to you as someone who humbly had a really hard time parenting, solo parenting, all of the stuff, teenage parenting. And now I am so proud and so blessed and so happy to have super close connection with my son. We made it through some really hard years, but I really believe it was that pivoting towards connection. And you just said that, and it's like um, there's nothing more important than connecting with our children. So how do we do that best? And from the get-go is that play. And it changes, it morphs as they grow older, like what they're interested in. But if you stay close and connected, and I believe that you'll be able to follow that trail with them, to play in ways that matter to them. My son's a musician, so now I get to hear, like, what song did you play, and will you sing it for me? And that's how we play now, through discussion about music. And so, okay, I took that
I
on a long road.
No, I love that. And
Thanks,
I
Tracy.
personally love just hearing more of your story because I think so many times as a parent, it can be so intimidating approaching somebody who is leading something like a big movement and I'm like, "Oh, you must be the perfect mom. You have it all together. You must have had every parenting book nailed down pat and I'm intimidated by you." And I love hearing stories of moms who are like, "No, here's my authentic struggle. Here's all that I went through. And this is why I'm so good at what I do now because I went through hell and back to
It's
get to this place."
right.
It
Yeah.
adds such a real layer of authenticity that's like, "Oh, you can relate to me when like on these hard days where
Yeah.
I feel like I'm missing the mark."
Yeah.
And I think that's such a powerful
Oh,
place.
thank you. I appreciate that. And it's not true when we see people being authentic and real and having the struggles that we experience, like, oh, okay, all right, I can do this. I feel
Yeah.
seen. I'm not alone. All of that, and truly, the title of your book brings that. It's like, mommy needs a minute. Who hasn't felt that? Like, oh my god, I need a minute. Can I just literally go to the bathroom by myself for a minute? Like, God, there's no breaks here. Like, who signed me up for this?
It's
I had no
true.
idea. you know um I did remember the other thing I was going to say, about, we were talking about kids creating games, and then I also, what I've been loving seeing is that as I coach parents on how to play with their kids to teach them how to read and write, the parents are now starting to think in this way. And I love the neuroplasticity of our brains, right? That we can learn. And as you get these new tools in your hands, your brain starts to see it, like, oh, I can make this a game. I can make, so at first when it may feel hard, like I don't really know how to play. I don't like to play. I don't like the way that my kids play. Like, maybe you can bring play in that does appeal to you, and that I'm sure your kids will get on board, especially when they're young. They're pretty much on board. Like, you're their hero. If you think something's fun, and also that energy, if you think something's fun, like, there's buy-in because you've got this energy that they want. They want that connection, that yummy, juicy that language. So I think, I don't know, it's just so powerful to bring in play and to start learning how to play, because sometimes we
Yes.
don't know how to play. We weren't played with, we don't like play, whatever, I'm too busy, all of the things, and yet it's really a key to avoiding burnout, because like you said, dopamine and connection and fulfillment. Yeah.
Yes, and I love that you said like you learn to get better at play. You learn to see the world in new ways. Just like you're sparking their imagination, their creativity, their ability to think outside the box. You are training your brain in the same way when you're playing with them. You're encouraging your own brain to think in all these new ways. And it's such a incredible experience when you're like, remember when I first had my little guy and my husband was coming up with these great fun little games for him and I was like, I'm the worst mom. My brain is blank. I was like, I'm
Yeah.
sleep deprived. I'm exhausted. You want me to play? Like, I will mindlessly sit here and roll the ball at you, and that's all I've got. And it's incredible how the more we play and the more we engage, the more creative we become until I look back and I'm like, I came up with that. It was kind of cool. And I came up with it and they liked it. Like, and it's kind of empowering in its own
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. And no shade to throwing the ball when that's all you have capacity
It's true.
for. I mean, let's be real. Like, sleep deprived is a real thing,
It's
and
true.
it is hard to think and do all the things. So, power
Yep.
to you. If you're rolling the ball, we salute you and celebrate you. That's amazing.
It's true.
That
At
counts. It's
least you're
play.
rolling. Exactly. It counts. And I think there's definitely, that's the other thing too. I always love to tell parents there's seasons for everything. You don't have to do it all and be it all at once. Like when you have a newborn and you have a toddler, maybe your partner or a grandparent or a best friend or an auntie or an uncle, they do a little more of the imaginative, engaging, running around the house play. That's okay. You're physically and emotionally and mentally not up for that level right now, and there's no reason to beat yourself up about it. It's just a season. And kids, I can testify so many times that kids are incredible. They will bounce back. They bounce back from all the seasons.
All of it. There's so many minutes, and we're keeping track, but our kids aren't totally, like, um, there's so many times where it's just like, oh, I'm sorry I wasn't there for you today. But now, my son's 20, like, I don't remember those days. He doesn't remember those days. He just knows that, like, mom was there for you consistently. Like, I was
Yeah.
there for you,
Over
like,
the long
I
haul.
showed up,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like, it wasn't my best every day, but I showed up. Um, and yeah, just, I love that. Like, permission to let someone else play too.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know? But permission to give your child permission to play as well. And I love that. Like, we need each other. We need community and tribe, and it doesn't all have to come from mom.
Mm.
Um, and again, we can set that bar at like 5 minutes. Like, can you do 5 minutes? Cool. Like, that'd be amazing. If you can't, if you have capacity for zero some days, okay, we got you. Other
Yeah.
people have got your back, right? But like, if you can consistently show up with a little bit of play every day, where it's just like so intentional and giving them attentional,
Yeah.
uh I think that's so important, and it will, like you said, like this full circle of it helps. Play helps us, and I will be the poster child for that, because I teach through play. I literally get to play every day, and I love my life. It's like so good. I have so much joy in my life. Like, I literally get dopamine, hits all day, and even if I have a long day, um, it's still like the time with the kids was great. It's just afterwards I'm like, "Ooh, that was a lot of hours." Okay, I'm all tired now, but I don't feel tired in the moment. And joy is a really powerful, I mean, play is powerful, and the joy that comes from it is just amazing too.
That I
Yeah.
love it. I love that you get to do it all day and what a true real life case study of like this. I can testify in my own life how
Yeah.
powerful play is and dedicating that time. And as a mom who has been on both ends of the spectrum where it's like I'm too busy, I'm too exhausted, I'm too burned out doing it all to play. Play is something that's just kind of this frivolous extra. And now to the mom who's like, we incorporate play every day. It's a part of our life, and play is productive, and play and life and learning, they all go together. You can't really do one well without the other.
Right.
And so I can really relate and empathize with play is so powerful, and it really does deepen your connection. And even in the moments where you need a minute, the best way to get a minute is through incorporating more play into your life. My children play better independently after they've had 10 to 15 minutes of concentrated playtime with me. It fills up their little love tanks. So now they can go and play independently for the next 10-20 minutes, and they will play very well independently because I've filled their love tank, and now I can focus on some of the things that I need to do. And having experienced both ends of it, the power of play is so incredible, and it really has the power to transform even the burnout in your life in so many different ways.
Beautiful. Another resource is called Circle of Security, and I've been doing a training of that, and it's exactly what you just said, is that you fill their cup, you give them attention. So there's this circle, and your hands are at one end of it, and your child gets to be in your embrace, and then they go out into the world and explore and are curious, and then they turn back, and then the other part of the circle is coming back to you. And sometimes you may need to comfort them, or you may need to delight in them, or you may need to just see them, or I don't know, relish time with them, and or just be present with them in whatever they're experiencing. And that circle of security is uh, when they're looking at you like, mommy watch, mommy watch, mommy watch, and you're going like, I'm watching, okay, but you're really like doing the dinner and da, da, da.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, no, watch, watch. And they really want to be seen, and and they'll keep asking you to watch until they feel seen and their cup is full, and they're like, okay, now I can look somewhere else for it. And then they'll take that loop back out, and then it's really fascinating. And it's like we are their security, and when we fill that cup, then they have time to go explore and go play independently. So stay the course, mama. Like if they're still like really wanting your attention, give it to them in full. And you'll see that once they've been filled up, then they have permission to go play on their own, right? Like they give you permission to take a minute, and they have permission to go play, and take those breaks. What is the time? What is the scheduling for you? Like, how long do you feel like you play with your kids, and then they go off and play independently? What's that looking like at 3 and 4 years old?
3 and 4 years old, I feel like really 15-minute blocks are really a sweet spot right now for us. We're out 15 minutes, and it's not really like I watch the clock and
Oh,
I'm counting down the
yeah,
minutes.
yeah.
I just usually find it 20 minutes. Obviously, if I could give them my undivided attention all day, every day, they would love
Good
they would
take.
love that.
Yeah.
What human being wouldn't? Um, but usually 15-20 minutes, and then I can be like, okay, mommy needs to do this. And sometimes they'll want to come and do what it is with me. They'll want to help me fold the laundry, or they'll want to help scrub, and sometimes they just want to do their own play.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest things I notice is that when I multitask, I think I'm great at multitasking. Most women, most moms I talk to also feel like I can multitask. I'm great at it. And you might be great at it. I can multitask fairly competently, but your toddlers don't know that you're still paying attention. All they see is you looking at your phone, you're folding the laundry. And my little guy he'll put his hand on my arm. Mommy, I'm talking to you. Mommy, I'm talking to you. Like, yes, I know, I'm hearing you, I'm
Yeah.
listening to you, but not until I put my phone down, or I put the laundry down and I fully look at him will he be like, okay, yes, now you see that I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
And so I've noticed that, those 15 to 20 minutes, if I'm trying to get things done while also being like, yes, I see you, they don't feel seen. Because when you're multitasking, they don't understand that you're not showing them that they have your attention and you're a priority. All they see is you're still doing
Yeah.
something, and you're telling me that you see me, but I don't feel
Yeah.
seen. So those 15 to 20 minute time blocks are so powerful. And really after that 15 to 20 minutes, I usually get a good 30 minutes of uninterrupted doing a task while they are independently playing and creating. And it really does create that space versus, and I feel connected to them, they feel connected to me,
Yeah.
versus being like, you're bothering me, you're getting in the
Yeah.
way of the things that I'm trying to do. And now I'm feeling frustrated and overstimulated and agitated. And now my temper's shorter.
Yeah.
So now I'm being harsher than I should be. And you're not feeling seen. Your love cup's empty. And I'm feeling exhausted and overstimulated. And that disconnection starts. And if it carries on, it has the power to disrupt your entire day of,
Yeah.
well, now I don't want to spend time with you because I'm overstimulated and I'm annoyed. So I don't want to play with you. And
Right.
they get more
Mm-hmm.
whiny,
Mm-hmm.
anxious,
Yeah.
clingy, and you're like, and it just, the cycle continues versus giving them that concentrated time, and it can really flip your entire day around.
Oh, fully. Thank you for sharing from your lived experience. I can see that as such a great pattern to give that attentiveness, and then they feel seen, and then they can go play, and you have safe things out for them to, explore and do what, and even like you were saying the laundry, and I was like, oh, talking about play within your tasks. I remember my husband would like take his underwear, his boxers, and put them on his head. And they like, I have pictures of them both with underwear on their head and just being silly, just play with the laundry and maybe mix match socks or something, whatever. It's just to play with it and make it joyful. So good. So as we close out, I just want to check in and see, is there anything else that we didn't cover that you would like to mention here? If not necessary, but if I didn't,
No,
okay.
I think I loved our conversation. Always
Thank
such
you.
a
I love
joy
it so
to chat
much.
with you. It fills my love cup
Oh,
to chat
me
about all kinds of
too.
things.
I was telling people before you came on who you were, and like I've just so enjoyed our connection, and what a gift to meet in this movement of bringing play and of supporting families and children. Before we go, though, I have my tradition is to play this little game called Permission to
Oh,
Play. And since we're talking about toddlers, we're going to give your toddlers some random household items and see what you think you might play with these.
oh,
So
I
let's see.
love it.
All right, we have a deck of playing cards, a plastic cup, and rubber bands. Oh dear, my alarms go off with rubber bands and 3 or 4 year olds. But what do you think?
I was gonna say the rubber bands would definitely be little missiles that they would try to shoot into the plastic cup, or they
Oh, I
would
love
most
that.
likely put like a little action figure or something who is the guy in jail that they are trying to hit while he is in jail. Um, and the deck of cards would most likely be, we love to learn our numbers with decks of
Ooh,
cards. So
yeah.
I hold up a card and I have them tell me the number, what the number is on the card. We will count to it. And oftentimes we'll do, so I'll say, okay, the number is 7. I'll say, so you have to pretend to be a dog and we're going to bark 7 times like a dog. And then we see who can bark the loudest and who can bark the quietest. And we'll count to 7 while we bark. And we'll work our way through the deck like that.
Oh my gosh, I want to live with you. You're so fun. I love this. I was thinking like, okay, if they have 7, they could try to hit 7 cups or have 7 rubber bands and see how many points they get. I was also seeing the cards as like building a little struck fort maybe around and like then knocking it down with the rubber bands. Like
Oh,
cup,
yes.
cup and cards forward, see which one stands up better. I don't
Oh,
know.
yep. They would love that. They anything building that you can knock down with
Right.
ideally a wrecking ball. It like they've even taken
Yes.
rubber bands and bunched them
Oh,
together to try and make a wrecking ball,
there
and
you
then you,
go.
yeah,
There you
knock it
go.
right.
They've already done it. You're like,
Yeah,
this isn't random. This is a Tuesday for me.
this is great.
Oh, we did that yesterday. So good, so good. Well, Alyssa, thank you again so much for coming on and sharing your journey, your High Five Thrive nonprofit that is supporting women, mothers, families, and your book, Mommy Needs a Minute. Tell us, where should we find these resources? How can we get more connected with you? I know that I want to connect with you every day. So how can everybody get more in touch with you?
Perfect. So I have a personal Facebook that I'm always happy. It's Alyssa Brade author, and I love posting encouraging messages on there. High Five Thrive also has a Facebook page that you can look up and follow. My book's available on Amazon. There's an Audible version, a Kindle version, as well as a traditional paperback version. And I always love, I have a workbook also that I'm more than happy to send as a freebie to anybody who buys the book. It just has a lot of I shouldn't say instructions, like activities that you can do to provide support in addition to what is being talked about in the pages. So I'm always happy to share that as a resource as well, and always just happy to chat about what's going on in your parenting journey, even if it's just a listening ear to be like, yep, I get that. Community, you got this.
That's so beautiful. So people look up High Five Thrive, look up Mommy Needs a Minute. Is that no Alyssa Brade author? Did I say
Yes,
that
and
right?
yes.
And look up how to help my brain remember things. Help me, please, dear Lord. All right. Well, I sign off giving you permission to play and thanking you for coming and sharing your life with us today.
Thank you, Amy. Have an awesome
Thank
night.
you. You too. Good night. Bye bye.